So I'm not even really sure how to start a video like this. Hi. I was gonna do it alone, but Leo decided to wake up from his nap. Clearly. I've been meaning to do a video like this for a while now because I do want to put my story out there so other people can relate. What? So other people can relate to my story, because I know there's a lot of women and a lot of families that do relate to this story. I've talked about this before, but I've never made a video about it, and making a video about it's a little bit more vulnerable. So excuse me if this is like all over the place and jumbled and a mess, and sorry if I look like a hot mess. So this is gonna be a video about our miscarriage that we had 2 years ago, not last year, 2 years ago, and my experience with it and how I coped and things that helped me kind of move forward, and just the whole experience pretty much. So I found out I was pregnant on April 9th, 2015. I was around 4 weeks pregnant. Well, I originally took a test like 4 days before my cycle was supposed to start, but I didn't really go off of that test because it was so early. But like the actual test that I took was on April. So the actual test that I took that I confirmed it with was on. So I was pregnant on Easter and didn't even know about it yet. I had a feeling I was, because I was just really tired and really worn out and just like moody, you know. So I kind of remember having Easter that year, and I was kind of sad because I think I knew deep down that something wasn't right, but you know, I was tired, but it was a good Easter for what it was. I didn't even know I was pregnant yet, but so I was around 4 weeks when I actually found out. I called my doctor and I tried to make an appointment. My insurance was all screwed up, so I tried to get in as soon as I could, and the earliest they would take me is in the second trimester. Or no, it was like 12 weeks is when they were going to take me. That's their first appointment. They don't see you any earlier than that, which is weird because like so much can go wrong in the beginning of pregnancy. I have an ectopic pregnancy, which could be deadly. So I really wish they would have seen me earlier, because it could have been something hormonal that could have been prevented. But I really can't think like that, you know, because then you start having regrets. The video is really hard to make. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. So all was going really well. I felt normal. It was like a normal pregnancy. I didn't have any sickness or anything. I had like normal cravings, and I was really emotional, more emotional than I was with my daughter, who I had before. So I had my first appointment / ultrasound. It wasn't going to be an ultrasound in the beginning, or it wasn't going to be an ultrasound originally, but I had my first appointment on June 17th, 2015. And the appointment was very quiet, because I had an at-home heart Doppler, and a couple weeks prior I could find the baby's heartbeat, and I actually knew the baby was like, you know, the heart was beating and it sounded fine and all that. And then one day I went to do it and I couldn't find it, and so I was worried, but I just kind of let it go for that day and waited a couple days and tried again, and I still couldn't find it. And I was supposed to be around 12 weeks pregnant, and I just knew something was wrong. So, I called my doctor's office, and I called the nurse line, you know, and asked them about it, and they said it's totally normal that, you know, in the beginning the baby's so small and it's just hard to find, especially if you're not skilled in it or whatever. So I kind of let that ease my mind, even though I knew in my mind that something was not right, that it was over already. Anyways, so I went into that appointment, and the nurse, you know, or the assistant tried to find the baby's heartbeat like they do. She couldn't find it, and I kind of showed her where I found it. I had found it before with my Doppler, and she sat there for like 10 minutes trying to find the baby's heartbeat, and it wasn't there. So after she left the room to go get the doctor, who I wasn't even supposed to see that day, I just started crying. I just lost it, and I just couldn't deal with it anymore. My fiance was with me, so I had his support, but the doctor came in and he tried to find the heartbeat and couldn't find it. And so we were in the same room as the ultrasound machine was already in there. He decided to go ahead and do an ultrasound real quick. And he did it, and we saw the baby. Looked like an actual little baby, around 12 weeks. But there was no heartbeat. He wasn't going to print any pictures off for us. He didn't really say much besides, "I'm so sorry, there's no heartbeat, blah, blah, blah." So he said there was no heartbeat, and he sent us back out into the waiting room, which was like one of the hardest things I had to do, go sit in a waiting room with people who were pregnant, visibly pregnant, and crying babies after I just found out that I lost my baby. Was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. So we went and we sat in the waiting room, and he ordered a stat 4D ultrasound that was downstairs from our actual doctor's office. So it took forever to get that done. So I had to sit in the waiting room with those people for a long time, crying in front of everyone. So I went to that ultrasound appointment. I was hoping that they would let me see the screen and let me see my baby in 4D, but they didn't. They also didn't let my fiance or anybody else go in the room with me. So I was all alone in my most vulnerable state in my life. I couldn't see the screen, and the ultrasound technician, of course, isn't allowed to tell you anything. So I was sitting there just guessing on what was going on for, 45 minutes, a 45-minute ultrasound by myself. I tried to make conversation with the ultrasound technician, and she just didn't even try to make conversation with me. I tried to confirm what she was seeing, like, I said, "This happens a lot, doesn't it?" She said, "Unfortunately, it does." So that kind of answered my question on, okay, it's real. It's like the doctor wasn't mistaken or anything. So she sent those results back to my doctor, and we went back up there, blah, blah, blah. My doctor confirmed it. There was no heartbeat anymore. Like I said, my doctor wasn't going to print pictures off for us. For like keepsake or anything. He didn't even think about it. I actually had him turn the ultrasound thing back on to take a picture and to give it to me. So I'm so glad that I had him do that, and that I thought about it in that state of mind, because I cherish those pictures for the rest of my life. And I even have a picture framed, and it's up in our room, hanging on our wall. But yeah, he wasn't going to originally print a picture for us. And so that makes me sad that there's families that this happens to like every day, and most doctors, or a lot of doctors, at least my doctor, doesn't even think about like, your emotional state. Or we were going to schedule for surgery or whatever, but I decided to go home and just wait it out and see if I would miscarry naturally, I waited 8 weeks. 8 long weeks. I went through 4th of July being pregnant, but not being pregnant. We tried to do a lot of like family things together to keep our minds occupied, but it was horrible. Are you stuck? The waiting game was horrible. I tried to induce it. I did everything I could, and nothing was happening. So we scheduled the DNC, the surgery that they do to empty your uterus out. And That was terrifying. And at the same time that all this was happening, my best friend and our roommate, we were actually living with roommates, was pregnant with her son. So our roommate was pregnant with their son. So, I mean, I was kind of happy because I got to kind of experience it a little bit with her. And it made me more happy for her. It made me more happy for her as a friend. And I do feel closer to them because of it. But yeah, so I went in for the surgery. And that same day that I had my surgery, my friend had her son at 40 weeks. So the same time that I was getting the surgery done, she was giving birth. And that was really tough. It was weird and coincidental and just hard to have to deal with, because we lived with them. So we came home and her son was there, and it was just kind of hard. I tend to like think about it in the way of maybe our lost baby lives through their son, you know. I know that's weird, but it kind of helped me cope at the time. So yeah, that helped me cope at the time, but eventually we moved out and we moved back in with my parents, because I just needed that emotional support. It was horrible. It didn't hurt physically. The surgery went really well. I didn't really bleed very much. It was a great surgery. But emotionally, it was the hardest thing of my life. And I've lost a lot of people in my life, including my own mother, which actually today is the day she died. 11 years ago? Yeah, 11 years ago. But yeah, it was one of the most hard things I've ever had to deal with in my life. I never want to deal with it again, and I know there's women out there who deal with it multiple times. I don't know how. But yeah, the surgery went really well. I recovered great. My cycles returned exactly a month after the surgery. So my body was, my body was ready for that surgery to happen so that I can get back to normal life. Because those 8 weeks were torturous. So I'm feeding my son now because he was crying at my feet. But yeah, those 8 weeks were horrible. I can't even describe how I felt during those weeks. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. I know I'm not crying in this video. I'm close to it, but I've done a lot of crying over it, and I've just come to terms, really. I never really talk about it anymore. I used to be very open about it. I posted online about it a lot. That way, I could get more women realizing that it happens a lot, more than it should, and women don't need to be quiet about this. It happens to almost all of us. So yeah, that's our story. I have pictures here. This is actually the box that I used to tell my fiance that I was pregnant. It's just a little box that we painted. Me and my daughter painted it together, and I have all the, I don't know if it's focusing at all. Hold on. All the tests that I took. I don't know if that's gross or not, but I don't touch them or anything. But the tests are in there with a picture of Kaylee. But yeah, I have a little keepsake box. I never really go in it. I have my wristbands from when I had the surgery. Let me open this real quick. So yeah, I have the wristbands from when I had the surgery. Let me just cover up my doctor's name. I don't know if you can get anything from that. But yeah, so I have the wristbands. I have the one test that I took that confirmed when we were pregnant. I don't know, is it loading? Focus. It might be too bright in here. Oh, there it goes. Okay, there. And then I also, of course, have the pictures from the ultrasound. Let me show you guys those. So there's the pictures. This picture isn't the best one. I have the better one actually hanging up in our room. You can see the whole profile of the baby's face and everything. I think it would have been maybe a little easier if I hadn't seen the ultrasound, but I don't know. I don't know how it would have been. I definitely feel more connected to this baby that we lost because of the ultrasound and the fact that I did hear the heartbeat, and I even have it recorded, so it's on my computer. I'll try to insert it in this video. I went and got my tattoo of the heartbeat, the actual heartbeat of the baby, and the name that we picked out for the baby. I felt like the baby was a girl, so I picked out well, it's a gender neutral name, but yeah, I just felt like she was a girl. Yeah, I don't know. It was one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with in my life. Leo's laughing at nothing. I actually graduated high school. I graduated like 2 years late from high school, but I graduated a day before my ultrasound. I graduated and had my ultrasound the next day. So everything just felt so right, and it felt like everything was happening the right way, and then that happened, and I felt like my life just like fell apart. And then 5 months later, I got pregnant with him. Get a kiss? I got pregnant with him, and we didn't announce it right away like we did the last baby. I actually waited until I was 16 weeks pregnant to announce it. We actually knew the gender already when we announced it. I do feel like our miscarriage made way for him. I have like a different connection to him, I feel, because he's my rainbow, what they call a rainbow baby, a baby after a pregnancy loss or baby loss. Sometimes I catch myself trying to degrade my feelings because it was a miscarriage. Like, women have this every day. There's people out there who lose their grown kids. I shouldn't be feeling this sad over, a miscarriage, but we totally have the right to feel those feelings because it's still a loss. And I just wanted to put my story out there for other women and other families who go through these feelings and don't know what to do. Dad, is that working? Who don't know what to do with themselves and who are just looking for reassurance that it's gonna be okay and that you never get over it, never. But you can get past it and move forward and just honor your baby for who they were for the short time. So yeah, I hope that this video helps somebody in some way realize that it's okay to feel how you're feeling and that it's a crazy experience and you're not crazy, you're not over emotional, that it's okay to feel what you're feeling. I'm starting to get really grumpy now because it's hot in here and the window's open, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. But yeah, I hope it gets to somebody who really needs to see it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for more. And this video was really hard to make for me because I've been thinking about making it since the miscarriage happened, and I just never gathered the courage to do it. But I'm doing it in the name of women who need to see it. So yeah, I love you guys, and I thank you for being here.